Also today, day 3 of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. The theme today, Make America Strong Again. And there were more GOP heavy hitters taking the stage, including Donald Trump's pick for VP, JD Vance. Former President Trump, he was at the convention earlier today to get ready to accept his party's nomination tomorrow night. He walked around the stage, he stood behind the podium, kind of getting a lay of the land there. Trump again had a bandage on his right ear following his assassination attempt that happened on Saturday. But of course, the main event tonight was that speech from the VP pick. JD Vance, and John Hook is in Milwaukee tonight with the latest. John.
Guys, it was an interesting night in Milwaukee. The nation got to see JD Vance, Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. There were a lot of big names on the stage, and it got rolling with Peter Navarro, who just got out of federal prison this morning. And he was here to talk about why he refused a subpoena from Congress to talk about conversations that he had with Donald Trump in the Oval Office on the day of the Capitol riot on January 6th. He said, I went to jail so you don't have to, talking about political prosecution and persecution. He wasn't the only one. Members of the Trump family, including his granddaughter Madison and his son Don Jr., they took the stage as well. And then closing out the night was JD Vance, the first-term senator from Ohio, officially joining the ticket on Monday when Mr. Trump named him. For many voters, Vance is not a household name. He's a real new face on the scene who was just elected in 2022. And he shared his life story, growing up in poverty without a father and with a mother who was addicted to drugs, now on the verge, potentially, if their ticket wins, he would be next in line for the presidency.
I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America. After 9/11, I did what thousands of other young men my age did in that time of soaring patriotism and love of country. I enlisted in the United States Marines. Like a lot of people, we came from the mountains of Appalachia into the factories of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Now, I pledge to every American, no matter your party, I will give you everything I have to serve you and to make this country a place where every dream you have for yourself, your family, and your country will be possible once again. And I promise you one more thing. To the people of Middletown, Ohio, and all the forgotten communities in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, and every corner of our nation, I promise you this: I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from. And every single day for the next 4 years, when I walk into that White House to help President Trump, I will be doing it for you, for your family, for your future.
You're looking at the balloons poised and ready to drop tomorrow night to ring in Donald Trump's nomination as his party's presidential nominee for a third time. This will be historic, and Donald Trump, recovering from a near-death experience at the hands of a sniper on Saturday, this place will go absolutely crazy tomorrow night. For JD Vance, he did sprinkle in some humor tonight, talked about his grandmother warning him when he was a kid that he was hanging around with another kid in the neighborhood who dealt drugs, and he said, if you keep hanging around that kid, I'm going to run him over with my car, and no one will ever know about it. He was throwing some of this stuff from rural America into the mix tonight, and the crowd really appreciated him. And, you know, for JD Vance, it's been a full circle. He was a big critic of Donald Trump in 2016 when he first ran for president, saying that he was unfit for office. He called him an opioid, you know, saying that he was like an addiction that's unhealthy. And he came around and started to see the policies when Trump took office, and his position completely changed. And he has become one of Donald Trump's most fervent supporters. And I think Donald Trump has found kind of a kindred spirit in JD Vance, and they love the juxtaposition here of a guy of privilege, Donald Trump, as a businessman, a New York guy, a billionaire, and JD Vance, who came literally from nothing out of rural America and has risen to this position, now potentially second in line to the president if they win in November. It was an interesting night, and tomorrow night is really the conclusion and the climax of the entire four-day affair here in Milwaukee.
And John, this was a chance for a lot of the country who didn't know much about JD Vance to hear from him. He spoke for quite a while tonight.
He did.
Do we know how long former President Trump's speech is going to be tomorrow night? I know you were saying that there was about 20 pages that they were reworking, so that's going to be quite a lengthy speech.
Yeah, I think it will be. If JD Vance's speech is any indication, I think Donald Trump will probably go close to an hour. So we'll see. It could go late, and we will join you live when it's over. And then we're on to Chicago next month for the Democratic National Convention. And that could be an interesting affair because the party right now is in flux. As you've mentioned throughout the day, Joe Biden now has contracted COVID, and he's laid up for a while the party ruminates over whether he's the guy to carry the party into November or whether they need to make a change. So you've got a party in some real flux and a party here that's fairly united behind this ticket. So we'll see how it plays out, but we'll be there to cover all of it throughout the campaign season.
Yeah, what an interesting election it will be come November. Could look a lot different. We'll see. John, thank you.
And John.